Hello and welcome to the Authentic Freedom Virtual Church. My name is Lori Lumby and I am the pastor and spiritual director of this online community. Let us pause for a moment as I read to you from our mission statement. We are a community of men and women who consider Jesus to be our teacher while honoring the spiritual truths inherent within all sacred traditions. We recognize the divine as that which is at once outside of us, within us, and present within all of creation, and which can be acknowledged by any name, image, or presence. We believe in the inherent potential of all human beings to become self-actualized and acknowledge the spiritual journey as a formative tool in this endeavor. We believe in the law of love and seek to know more fully the love of the divine that dwells within us and which seeks to be known in the world through us in service to the betterment of the world. Let us pause for a moment in silence as we allow our hearts and our minds to be open to God's nourishment for us today. Te te Malkuta, te te Malkuta, te te Malkuta, te te Malkuta. The lesson in this week's readings is about opening ourselves to God's guidance in our lives, knowing and trusting that God knows what is in our highest good, even better than we know ourselves. The lesson this week is about turning within to God for guidance and direction, instead of giving in to the whims of our ego, our fears, or our false perceptions, or giving in to the deadly compulsion of sloth. When we are engaging in sloth, we refuse to use the brain that God gave us to reason, discern, and exercise truth. And often the way that this is manifest is that instead of listening to the divine guidance that resides within us, we listen or give the power to make decisions in our life to some outside perceived authority. And these authorities are often self-appointed. In other words, they've decided that they know the answers, they know what's right for us, and they know what we should be doing with our lives. Ultimately, the only authority, the only true and reliable authority, is our intimate relationship with God. So towards that invitation of turning to God for guidance, I want to talk today a little bit about one of the ways in which God reveals God's truth to us. And this is foremost in my mind as I have had a very direct lived experience of remembering or being reminded of how God speaks to us and the many ways that God reveals God's truth. Specifically, the way that I want to talk about today is the way that God reveals truth to us through our physical body, through our felt sense, or through what psychiatrists, transpersonal psychiatrists, or psychologists might call a somatic experience, or phenomenology. Big fancy word for what does it feel like? God reveals God's truth to us in a very real, felt, physical experience. And the short answer to how do we know if it's God speaking or our ego or false self? When something that we are questioning, discerning, exploring, or experiencing in our lives, when that something is in harmony with the truth and the path that God understands to be in our highest good, when what we are experiencing or exploring or discerning or witnessing is reflective of our purpose, our call, and the life that we are meant to live, then we have a very specific felt sense of the rightness of that path. And that felt sense of rightness feels expansive. It gives us a sense of peacefulness. We might experience joy in that experience. We feel whole, we feel complete. It is easy for us to focus and to be attentive. Our mind feels clear and we feel well. We have a sense of rightness in that experience. When there is something that we are experiencing, discerning, exploring, or questioning that is not in harmony with our truth, not in harmony with the life that God understands to be in our highest good and the life that God wants us to enjoy. When we are experiencing, witnessing, discerning, exploring something that is not in harmony with our highest good, of the life that will give us a sense of meaning or purpose, when we are experiencing something that is not in harmony with those things, then we feel constricted. We feel limited. We feel imprisoned or constrained in some way. And we might experience that constraint in sensations of anxiety or panic or a need to flee. We can also feel sensations of being physically ill. We might suddenly feel depressed or sad, or like a weight is laying on top of us. Or we might just flat out feel physically ill. If we are in an experience that is not reflective of our highest good, God reveals that to us in a very real physical sense. Our job is to pay attention. To pay attention to how we are feeling in each situation, experience, opportunity to explore or discern in our lives, to see how it makes us feel. If it makes us feel whole and peaceful, expansive, light, joyful, then we can be assured that we're on the right path. If it makes us feel small, constricted, constrained, worrisome, physically ill, confused, doubting, fearful, then we can be pretty sure that it is not the path of our highest good. And then our opportunity is to say no. To say no to that which does not that makes us feel sick, and to say yes to that which makes us feel expansive and whole. God knows what is in our highest good, and God desires for us to know that as well. And when we turn within, specifically to our physical sensations, we are informed as to what is of God and what is not. Then we are given the opportunity to choose that which is life-giving and to say no to that which is not. In the coming week, I invite us all to pay attention to how you feel in your physical body as you go throughout your day, to pay attention to experiences that feel uplifting, that make you feel whole and peaceful and expansive, and to also pay attention to those things that make you feel small, constricted, or maybe even cause you to feel physically ill. This week, the invitation is to simply pay attention and to make note of those distinctions. In doing that, you are practicing your own discernment, and you have an opportunity to use that information in the future for important decisions in your life. God knows what is in our highest good and wants us to know that, and reveals it through a very real physical sense. Thank you for your participation in this week's Authentic Freedom Virtual Church. And if you found this to be meaningful and supportive, I invite you to share on your social networking sites. And if you feel so called, I invite you to support Authentic Freedom Ministries in whatever way feels good to you. Thank you, and have a great week.